Hello friends, today's lecture is on political culture and ideology. It will be in several parts. This is part one. In part one, we begin our exploration of political culture and ideology. The lecture goes along with the PowerPoints that are with the same title and in the same area of desire to learn. And it's very important that you also consult the PowerPoints, and you can consult them as you are viewing a lecture. Okay, let's begin our lecture. What do we mean by political culture? Well, really, political culture is how we think about politics as Americans, how we think about society, how we think about we're going to change that political system. That's what we mean by political culture. It's how we think. And sometimes it's not simply one culture, but many political cultures, or at least numerous political cultures. A way of approaching the study of political culture is to keep in mind that it is a reflection of who we are as Americans and what we believe and how that applies to politics and government. It's what we might think of as our shared mores, our shared beliefs, our shared philosophical commitments about the nature of life, nature of politics, and the future of America. I'd like to discuss with you a few examples of American political culture, or really more appropriately aspects of American political culture. And one thing to keep in mind is that when we study politics, when we study government, we are studying human beings, rational human beings, who are, of course, capable of irrational action. But conditions change, people's views of particular aspects of politics and society change. Therefore, because politics is a living subject, not, as my bad joke often suggests, not like history, which is a dead subject, political science is studying ever-changing, new, innovative ideas and changes of opinion. So let's look at some ideas that have been fairly constant in terms of American political culture, Americans' affirmation of them, and ideas that have changed, see some different views. For example, on the constant side, let's begin with liberty. Liberty is one of the most important concepts in American political culture. You will remember from our lectures and our readings and our interaction on the topic of the American Constitutional Convention, the American Revolution, liberty was really the goal of the founders. As we saw also in our film, A Design for Liberty, featured the important role of liberty. Basically, the lack of coercion, being able to pursue our own interests and what is most important to us. On the other hand, another aspect of American political culture that has changed is our who should vote. Who makes up the voting population? In the beginning, it was white men, 21 years of age of older, who owned property. Today, you can basically vote if you're 18 and you're not a felon, and you're registered to vote, and you're in a position to vote. So basically, it's very easy to vote in the 21st century. Nothing really stops you. If you're 18, you're registered to vote, the world's yours. I remember when I used to live in Washington, D.C. 20 years ago, after the motor voter bill and changes, that you could register to vote on a placemat in McDonald's, which shocked me. It really opened up the opportunity to vote. You just fill out that placemat and bring it to the voter registration office, and you're a registered voter. Now, of course, that was a problem for me as a great lover of Big Macs and Biggie fries. I had destroyed my placemat. Fortunately, I had already been a registered voter before I frequented the restaurant. But our views of voting and who should vote have changed considerably, and we'll talk about that in a few moments as well. Another constant has been the role of the individual. In American politics, the individual is very important. Everyone has the right to vote, and No one's vote counts any more than others. Now, there are more than one way to influence politics and government, but in terms of actually voting, everyone's vote counts the same, and the role of the individual and the possibility of the individual in American politics and American life is tremendous. You can begin in a very humble way, and you can move up in the political organization, gaining more power and influence. Over 100 years ago, for example, President Ronald Wilson Reagan, who served from January 1981 to January 1989. President Reagan was born in very humble beginnings, but was able to rise up, again, a successful individual, exerting himself or herself in American politics, and became the president, the highest office in the land. So the role of the individual is very, very important. Another area of change, on the other hand, is the role of national defense. Now, as you might imagine, the role of national defense changes given the strategic situation and the world environment in which we find ourselves. For example, we're still living in a world where terrorism is a way of life. So we have a kind of heightened attachment, a tremendous amount of spending for defense and defense-related industries, where there are other periods of time in American history where defense spending was lower. And, for example, between World War I and World War II. Another constant, on the other hand, is the notion of social equality. Most Americans believe that we are basically equal. Not equal in terms of physical attributes, intellectual ability, but we have the same kind of access, the same opportunity to make our way in America, to pursue our own self-interest, to live our lives as we think it is best to live them. So those are some of the introductory elements in American political culture. In the second part of our lecture, we'll continue this exploration.